There's a lot of wrestling fans of my generation and a little bit older who watched WWE for a couple of years in the late 90s and then quickly jumped off the ship at the end of the Attitude Era. What followed was a rough time for the company. They lost their two biggest stars, The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin, pretty much at the exact same time. They wasted $30 million on some restaurant in Times Square, which I only remember because it's where Perry Saturn would go to find his lost girlfriend, who was a mop. And also, the XFL. Need I say more? There's a lot of criticism of the early 2000s era in WWE, but I think the best way to sum it up is you had a company floundering in its slow decline from pop culture relevance, and they just lacked an identity now. I mean, that's why you could tune into SmackDown in 2002 and see some genuinely amazing wrestling with some young superstars, and you hop on over to Raw, and you've got Triple H humping a mannequin of Kane's dead girlfriend. And so all of that leads us to the WWE's most desperate grab for attention, 2003's Crush Hour. I mean, like, wrestling's still sort of popular, and the kids love that Mario Kart and Twisted Metal. I mean, why not make a wrestling car combat game? I mean, what could go wrong? I mean, alright, it sounds like the worst idea ever, but maybe there's hidden brilliance in an otherwise ridiculous looking package, like Kevin Owens. Or me. Crush Hour is set in a terrifying alternative future where the WWE Network is a runaway success. So instead of being a place where wrestling nerds can watch old episodes of Nitro, the network expands to the point where Vince McMahon owns all of television. Now that Vince owns the entirety of the entertainment industry, I guess he doesn't need wrestlers anymore, so he orders the WWE roster to fight to the death in car combat for a new show. And you thought Total Divas was an infringement of wrestlers' personal lives. So yeah, it sure sounds like a silly premise, but if you think about it in a different way, it's a game aesthetically and thematically based on television, where there's a designated hour for a diverse range of quirky characters to do battle inside the TV. In that sense, it's basically a Persona game. Okay, I'll stop trying to make it sound better than it is. Really, the most disappointing part of Crush Hour is it does absolutely nothing with its silly premise once you get past that opening. It's a setting with no story. The rest of the game plays out as a straight arcade mode where you play through different match types and unlock stuff. From here on out, the wrestling stuff is just window dressing, with little fan service or exploration of the concept. Crush Hour is really lazy in this sense. One way the game certainly isn't lazy is in the roster. There's over 30 WWE superstars available, and all of them have their own personalised, totally unique vehicle. You've got The Rock, and Triple H, and Kurt Angle, Jeff Hardy, who seems to have yet another long night. There's also Billy Gunn, and William Regal, and an Edge. Ugh, it's so uncomfortable having Chris Benoit show up in so many of these old wrestling games. It doesn't help that in Crush Hour the characters jump out of the screen to taunt you, like you're being haunted by the ghost of Crippler's past. Well, I'm going to go with Triple H for this review, because it's all about the game and how you play it. Crush Hour's main campaign plays out as a collection of different events. Win one to move on to the next one, and that's about it. Generally speaking, you win by blowing up your opponents most times, but the game does try to shake things up with some alternative modes. There's a cage match, which plays out as a capture the flag sort of deal. There's modes where you have to collect stars the fastest, and a Hell in a Cell mode where you compete in a pyramid, where different compartments open up as the game goes on. You know what this game reminds me of the most, with its collection of weird driving modes and changing objectives? It's not Mario Kart Battle Mode or Twisted Metal, it's South Park Rally. Although, alright, that's not entirely fair. I mean, South Park Rally did control a lot better. This is going to be hard to articulate because it's one of those, is there something wrong with the game kind of things? You hold X to accelerate, which is the option that seems the most natural, and I'm holding the button, but sometimes my vehicle will just slow down or stop briefly and I can't figure out why. I honestly thought my controller was broken, but no, I tried all my spares and I had the exact same problem. What's going on? Did Triple H hit the gas too hard and re-tear his quads? Why am I constantly stopping? There's another button entirely dedicated to this function, but you can double tap X to use one of your turbo boosts. So my guess is that even though I'm only holding the button, the fact that they made the X button pull double duty for no reason causes some kind of input error. Good thing you can also hold up on the D-pad to accelerate instead, so let's see how that works out.
Huge Rams!
At least the occasional frustration of the game barely working takes away from the monotony of actually playing it. There's pick-upable weapons and items, but most of Crush Hour's combat consists of driving in circles or right past each other, popping off your default weapon. Everyone has too much health, which makes 10-minute rounds feel like an hour, and combine that with how clunky everything feels, it creates a game where it makes no sense to be aggressive. You're better off letting your multiple opponents shoot at each other and waiting to get in the last hits to score kills, and that slows things down even more. I gave up on beating this game when I got to the stage where it's the first to collect 10 stars on top of this rooftop arena, which isn't half as exciting as that monster truck match Hulk Hogan had.
No! No! Oh my god.
First off, getting the stars is almost entirely luck. They spawn randomly and the game doesn't seem to care about spawning them right next to players, so 9 times out of 10 whoever's closest is just gonna get it straight away. But what kills it and made me rage quit is that you lose points for dying, and you die instantly if you miss these ramps and fall off the roof. And that happened to me a lot, mostly due to the previously mentioned acceleration problem where Triple H would blow out his quad halfway up a ramp and send me slowly drifting off the side into the nothing, into the untextured void. The rest of the game might be boring, but at least winning in these close combat arenas is relatively simple. Yes, Crush Hour. Yeah, that is an animated GIF of Triple H's Titantron video. No animation or anything? You got anything else to add? Okay, there we go. It's a lot of things like that that really make this game feel flat and lifeless. As bad as the premise is, there's still a ton of missed opportunities. Like, why is it only good old JR on commentary by himself, when you could have also put in Taz, and then he could talk about how everyone's built like a small foreign car? And you mean to tell me there is an official WWE car combat game where I can play as The Undertaker, blowing things up on a motorcycle, and they didn't license the song Rollin for the soundtrack?
I'm trying to salvage some fun out of this experience, but you've got The Undertaker driving around on his motorcycle shooting stuff, and I'm just having to sit here on my palms, jonesing for my fix of that Limp Bizkit mix.
Wait, vehicle running? So we're supposed to assume this is operating under the same logic as a wrestling match? Does that mean it's not really a fight to the death and it's all worked and predetermined? Does Vince tend to favour the guys in huge monster trucks over the Mini Coopers? How do these guys put a match together? Do they prepare spots backstage, or are they just calling it in the ring over CB radio? In more violent matches, does everyone pack angle grinders to use for blading when they want to get an oil spot? What am I talking about?
It's not a wrestling game. It's got nothing to do with wrestling. It's just some twisted metal knockoff that they slap WWE people into. It just goes to show that you can't just smash two popular things together. It doesn't work. I mean, people didn't take to it at the time, and this game's existence is pretty much just a punchline today. I mean, I guess there's not really much to be learned here other than, hey WWE, when you want to be culturally relevant again, don't like jump on bandwagons like this or get some random celebrities on your show just to grab some headlines. Just put on some good wrestling and put out some good games, because that stuff is genuinely timeless. Crush Hour, on the other hand, has aged about as gracefully as Kevin Nash's knees. See ya!